Disqualified or not, Imran Khan has vowed to fight on. So to what end? Joining me now to answer that, from his residence in Lahore, is the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan. Thank you so much for being with us and for taking this time while you are recovering. It's only appropriate to ask first how you're actually feeling, and I mean not only physically, but psychologically. What state has this shooting, this attempt on your life, actually left you in?
Psychologically more determined than ever. I was expecting something to happen. I predicted this first 4 months ago when there was a plot against me. 4 people in closed room had made this plan to assassinate me. And this is way back in May, July, June at that time. And because they were very powerful people and because I had exposed the plot, then the next plot came in, which is when they got me. And that was to orchestrate this as if it is a religious fanatic who had bumped me off, so that attention would not be on those 4 powerful people. It would be on a religious fanatic. And so the whole sequence of events, how they first, a video was manufactured by a certain agency, and then a video which showed me as if I'm committing blasphemy, I'm hurting religious sentiments, and then how it is picked up by one of their journalists who then flashed it, and then it was on national, the government-owned television. They played that thing for a while, how I had upset the religious sentiments.
Okay.
And then the ruling party, the information minister, they picked it up. So it was all part of a plan to make it out that eventually some fanatic had killed me.
Right. I understand you're talking about your own suspicions right now, and there are some very serious, really, discrepancies in what you've said versus what the government is saying and what they believe is evidence so far. Now, you put out a statement almost immediately after you were shot, directly blaming 2 government members and a senior intelligence official for the attempt on your life. You provided, as you just did again, some background and reasons for your accusation, but no solid evidence, as they have demanded. And now I asked Shahid Haqqan Abbasi, another former prime minister who's with the ruling party, what he made of your accusation. I'd like you to hear his response.
I think it's a tragedy that a person of Imran Khan's stature, who served as the Prime Minister of the country, would stoop so low to accuse the Prime Minister and the intelligence officers of being behind this shooting. The shooting took place in a province which his party controls. So I think it's time to investigate and see what was the motivation behind this shooting. The shooter has been arrested, and the truth should come out. I think for Imran Khan to speculate and try to gain political points out of this is something that is very much not acceptable.
So a tragedy, he describes it as. Imran Khan, have your accusations potentially crossed a line here, and are you trying to gain political points?
3 points, Andre. Number 1, my party right now, and all opinion polls would verify that, is by far the most popular party in Pakistan's history. We have won 75% of by-elections where my party on one side, 13 parties, all the other parties on the other side. And with government support, establishment support, with the election commission favoring them, we won 75% of the by-elections. Out of 37, 29. It has the biggest
we understand. I'm not.
It is visible on the ground.
Hold on. I'm not debating the popularity of your party and of yourself.
Hold on. I'm just sort of making my points one by one. So if it was for popularity, I wanted to blame someone for assassination. I don't need that sort of popularity. Number 2, what he's talking about, the Prime Minister and the Chief Minister, it is on record that to stop a protest against them in 2014-13, it was a famous model town massacre. The police fired into a crowd of people, killed 12, 60 got bullet wounds, and this is still case in the court. So, number two, and then both these guys have extrajudicial killing on them. Number three, and this is very important for you to understand. On the 24th of September, I actually went into a public rally and gave the script of what was going to happen to me 6 weeks ago, where point by point I said that first, these statements that I had committed blasphemy. Then they would be picked up by the government-owned media, government ministers. Then they would start, the PTV, Pakistan Television, for 4 days they ran this thing that I've committed, offended religious opinions. And the whole idea behind was to have eventually some, in the name of a religious fanatic, have me assassinated. So this was predicted. I went on 2 programs before that. So this is not new. And so, for him to say that I made these allegations, I want to have an independent investigation into it so that we can give the sequence of events what happened. And then the cover-up that has followed up. There's been a cover-up since the attempt on
And
me.
I want to ask you more about the investigation in just a second. But before we go too far, I just have to ask this detail. I mean, you've described repeatedly how you knew this was going to happen. You knew there would be an attempt on your life, and you knew who would be behind it. Why have you refused then to speak behind bulletproof glass, for example? Doesn't it just seem reckless? Don't you owe it to your supporters to keep yourself safe?
Look, Andre, the people who were behind this, and in fact, the 4 people who first initially planned it, and now these 3 people, this taking refuge behind a religious fanatic, they are powerful enough that if you plan to have bulletproof or something, they have other ways and means of blowing you off. So, I figured out that, look, so I was kept, and throughout the 5-6 months I've been campaigning, there were consistent warnings that they're going to hit you in certain place, or if you do this rally, your life is in danger. I had these were written warnings given by this administration. Now, I was left with a choice. Do I stop a campaign, the campaign for freedom, a genuine democracy and free and fair elections, or do I just sit in my home and allow this injustice to take place? So I took a decision that it doesn't matter, if I have to go, but no way should a nation compromise on its independence. So the situation right now is that we are governed by criminals. These guys, 2 families who are governing us now, for 30 years they have been governing Pakistan. They have massive criminal cases on him. They've been in jail several times. There's material written against them in international media. So they've been plonked on us, and we are expected to accept this like a herd of sheep. So I decided I was going to be in the field against
Fair enough.
this.
Fair enough. So yes, I mean, not only have you named, precisely the people you suspect, including from these 2 dynastic families you've, as you know so well, but in the past, you've also said those very people are also supported by the United States. Let me ask if you think foreign powers now have a role in what is happening to you in this moment.
What can outside powers do, really? It's a domestic issue. We have to sort it out domestically. Outside powers only influence you when you have weaknesses internally. And that's what they exploit.
Then why did you think they were so active before?
Way ahead. No, they're active because there were internal weaknesses. And the internal weaknesses came from within because, for various reasons, it was decided that the regime needed to be changed. So therefore, so that's when the outside forces come in. But the question is, the way forward is only one. Genuine democracy. Allow the people of Pakistan to elect their own government. Let's not be dictated from outside or from any internal powerhouses who just plonk people, criminals on top of you, and then expect that, like a herd of sheep, you should accept it.
Right.
That's what, so hence I've been campaigning for 6 months. No, I've gone all over the country. And, the greatest pleasure for me is that after 26 years, I finally see the sort of political awareness that never existed before in my country. So we have and that's what scared these people who tried to kill me.
You can definitely see it's been encouraging, at the very least, for the PTI. But let's talk about first the investigation now, because that will be crucial going forward. We know Punjab police, the people in charge of where this assassination attempt took place, they've taken it upon themselves, actually, to lodge an investigation into your shooting. Is that good enough? I know you've said you want an independent investigation. Okay, so tell us why Punjab's investigation won't be good enough, and what do you actually want to see independently from investigators? In what form? Would they have to come from outside?
So, Andre, number one, my party rules in Punjab. Punjab police is under my party. I am the ex-Prime Minister of Pakistan, and not just that. I am the head of the largest political force in this country. And I could not get a case registered against these 3 people who I know were involved in this. I know it. And whenever there is a proper investigation, starting from who released the video and the people subsequent of events that followed, I know exactly that these 3 people will be implicated. Now, imagine that my party rules Punjab. We could not get the Punjab police to register cases against these 3 guys because it was for investigation. So, if in the investigation they turn out to be innocent, fine. But at least it's my right. They almost killed me. I mean, it was a death trap where which I survived. So at least I should have the right to decide that whose motive was it to get bumping off. And we could not register a case against these 3 guys. The Punjab police refused.
So who do you want now coming in?
Who is controlling Punjab police?
Okay, I do get your point. So who should be coming to investigate?
Who is controlling?
Who will not be influenced by any political powers?
So it was a very genuine request that if these 3 people are involved, all the investigative agencies in Pakistan are under these 3 individuals. Now, how do I get justice when these 3 people are sitting up there? They're not going to allow justice. And what happened, Andre, since the shooting, the way the whole case has been handled, 20 minutes later, this guy appears and says, I shot him and I am all alone. How did he appear on TV? Who brought him on television? The police is not allowed to, unless a proper investigation is done.
So all I'm asking is very simply, who would do that proper investigation? You want the United Nations to come in?
Well, in Benazir Bhutto's case, the United Nations came. I think UN sent someone. It doesn't work. Really, what we need is the Chief Justice of Pakistan. He's got to be more assertive. Look, this is a question of rule of law. My whole struggle for 26 years has been movement for justice. Justice is everyone is below the law. Now, quite clearly that if I, as the head of this party ruling the province, if I cannot get these 3 powerful individuals to at least have investigated, the police would not register a case. Means they're above law. It means that there are 2 laws in Pakistan, one for the powerful, the other for the weak. And if I can't register a case against them, now imagine what is the situation of a common man here. When he comes up against the powerful, he has no justice. So this whole movement for genuine freedom, we call it, genuine freedom comes with rule of law. It's justice that gives human beings freedom, their rights. This is the struggle for 26 years, and it goes on.
Okay, so you want the Chief Justice of Pakistan. That's a powerful message. You want him to be, at the very least, more assertive in this. Because, yes, Pakistan does have a history of some investigations into very important deaths really leading to nowhere. And you mentioned, of course, Benazir Bhutto. Also, it's very interesting you're talking about the gunmen that they have said, and they said gunman. You have been very insistent that gunfire came from several directions, not from one person. Yet, in the report that's been filed, there is only a single gunman, from what I understand, being investigated.
Well, in the cover-up, who's trying to cover this whole thing up, it fits in their narrative that this was a religious fanatic. And by the way, he was not a religious fanatic, because social media is so active these days. They went and interviewed all the people around him, the neighbors and everyone, and this guy didn't even say his prayers. Forget about him being a religious fanatic. But he was trained in shooting. And so what happened was that this guy would have killed most of, the 3 or 4 people on top, because he was only a few feet away, and he fired a burst. But as he was taking his gun out, one of the a person in the crowd, and you can see it in the video, when he saw him taking the gun out, he put his hand on the gun, so the burst, rather than hitting us on the top body, as it went down, it hit us on the legs. So as it hit us on our legs collapsed. So as I was falling, and this is exactly the situation, the guy on my left, because the bullets hit us on our legs, we had this hail of bullets go over our head. So there was a shooter in front. There was a guy, this guy who's been caught. But there was another guy, because another burst of gunfire came, and we had bullets going over our heads as we were falling. Had we not fallen, this other guy would certainly have got us. So there were definitely 2 shooters, some said 3. Most of the people on the container saw the fire from the front. Tonight we should have forensic report. If it has not been altered, because here there's a deep state that controls everything. So like they would not allow the police to register a case because it was some intelligence officer, a Major General Faisal. So they wouldn't register a case because of him.
Okay.
So what will happen now? Will they alter the forensics? We will get a report tonight, and we know, all of us know, that there were firing came from 2 sides.
Okay. I look forward to hearing that forensic report, the results of that. But let's look forward now. You've said you're going to return to the Long March. And I want to look at something you said before, because you're getting closer to Islamabad, where this is all supposed to culminate. You had said about the Long March that this is a revolution, but you asked specifically, will it be a soft one through the ballot box or a destructive one through bloodshed? What do you mean by that? Because some might read that as you're actually threatening war if you don't get your way.
Andre, it's someone who started from scratch. I started politics 26 ago with no political figures, with no big names, with no family in politics. Because in Pakistan, it's family politics. It's either Sharif or Bhutto or feudals. I started from zero. And I gradually built up this movement. And I only built up the movement because eventually the public started joining me. And so it was a first genuine public movement. It took 20 years for me to 22 years, to finally win the election. Now, in the last 6 months, what I have witnessed, Andre, whenever a government has been removed in the past, people distribute sweets. People celebrate. This was the first time in our 75-year history. When I was removed, the next day, millions of people came on the street protesting against my removal. Millions came out. It's never happened in Pakistan before. And secondly, what happened? Not that they expected that it was a temporary thing, the movement would die down. It has grown. And again, I repeat, it's never happened that a government in opposition wins 75% of by-elections, despite all the establishment, the government machinery favoring the other side. And all parties on one ticket fighting against it. So it was me against all the rest of the parties. So already the revolution is on the ground. People want to change. Social media has changed people. They clamp down on journalists. They clamp down on media. One of our greatest, I have to say, one of the best investigative journalists in the world, Arshad Sharif, Because he was exposing this regime change and this conspiracy, he was hounded out of Pakistan. His life was threatened. Eventually, they had him murdered in Kenya. So there was a clampdown on media, on my activists. They've tried to disqualify me. There were cases, terrorism case against me. But social media. Now, this is something you can't control. So social media has raised the level of awareness. So it's my belief now, the change cannot be stopped in Pakistan. We have two ways. This genie of public awareness cannot be put back in the bottle. Either it will go the ballot way, which is the peaceful way, a soft revolution, or it will take the other way and out of everyone's control. Because it's a young population. Remember, Pakistan, 60% of our population is below 30. This is a young population, mobile savvy, aware of everything. The information cannot be stopped. And these are the people who are forcing the change in this country.
Right. And nobody wants the bloodshed. So at the very least, can you wait a year for a scheduled election?
Under two things. Number one, if there is a bloody revolution which happened, for instance, our neighbor Iran went through a bloody revolution. It is destructive. It takes time. You never know which direction it would take. And it goes out of everyone's control, could lead to chaos. The only way forward is a peaceful revolution through the ballot box. And that's a constructive revolution. So we all pray that that's what happens. But my worry is that there's this entrenched mafias who do not want to, who've been hogging the resources of this country, the elite capture.
But they still say they're in
my
power
worry is that
and
they
that they
might
will
not
hold
realize
an
it
election
time.
next year. Can you wait for that election?
So about the elections. Look, firstly, the country in 6 months, our economy has tanked. Business confidence in the latest survey is the lowest ever. Our growth rate is falling, our exports are falling, our remittances are falling, the trade gap is getting bigger. This is all documented. So the whole basis behind it, there's political uncertainty. No one knows what's happening. You cannot have economic stability unless you have political stability. Political stability can only come through elections. There's no other way, because when you have a government for 5 years, mandate, public mandate, that's how you start then getting business confidence. Investment doesn't take place if I'm not sure what's going to happen in 6 months or a year's time. So
Okay.
the only way out of this crisis are elections. Now, about your other, we can wait because we were gaining by the day. Politically, electorally, it doesn't make any difference to us. But to the country, my fear is that we might actually default on our external payments. And that's what it is looking like right now. So, for the sake of Pakistan and, all those people who care, who are in position of power, there is only one way out.
Some also suspected that you were so eager to get an early election in order to influence the appointment of a military chief that was favorable to you when General Bajwa retires in a few weeks' time. I first have to ask you is if there's some truth to that. Did you want to be able to influence the next leader of your military?
Look, Andre, the problem is when you have corrupt ruling elite, when you have people in who are head of political parties who have massive corruption cases against them, then their number one priority is after they've made this money and they want to make more money, how do they preserve this wealth? So they have to influence all powerful institutions of the state. Why do they have to have their own people, their own army chief, their own judge, their own head of FIA, the investigative agencies, and so on? Because their primary concern is not what's good for Pakistan. It's how can they preserve their wealth. And by the way, Andre, if you look at the developing countries, the number one problem is corruption of the ruling elites. Because the ruling elites, when they take money out of the country or steal and take the money out, they have to weaken state institutions. Otherwise, they will not be able to do it like in Western countries. That's why countries are poor, because the ruling elites plunder the country and then launder it out of the country. As the report of the United Nations Secretary General, the fact-type panel, which came up with a report that $1.7 trillion leave the poor countries for rich countries or rich capitals or offshore accounts. So therefore, I do not need my own army chief. I want an army chief on merit who's good for Pakistan, for the institution. I do not want my own judges. I want judges on merit. When I was in power, there was no family members I put in important places like these two family parties, because all family takes over. So for me, what is good for Pakistan, for any institution, is merit. So I never want my own army chief. I want army chief to be selected on merit.
Okay.
But these two guys, these two heads, Sharif and Zardari, they can't afford anything who's on merit or who's independent. They want their own man.
That's what people are still accusing you of. I know you deny it, and I mean, you're right now accusing a senior intelligence or military official of orchestrating your assassination. Listen, nobody really has ever challenged the role of the military in Pakistan's politics the way you have. But what's difficult to understand is whether you want the military out of Pakistan's politics, or do you want the military on your side in Pakistan's politics? Which is it?
Look, Honorable, let me say one thing. In the 200-year history of Test cricket, international cricket, I am the captain who brought in neutral umpires. I am the one who actually brought in neutral umpires in cricket because we wanted a fair result. Now, this, what you're talking about, you must understand that for me right now, the most important thing in Pakistan, one most important thing, is how do we get out of this quagmire? How do we get out of this situation right now? As a Pakistani, I'm genuinely worried that if we default, our currency is falling. If we default, this currency will go in a free fall. Inflation already, because of the international commodity prices rising, inflation is already high. So we will be in a mess. So hence, I want to make it clear, delaying the elections does not, having elections at their own time does not bother me as a political party, because everyone knows we are growing. The party is growing by the day. But it's possible that we would reach a stage in Pakistan where it could So that's my biggest worry.
Okay. Imran Khan, we will have to leave it there. I'd like to thank you so much again for taking time out of your recovery to speak to us, as we say in Turkish, geçmiş olsun. Thanks for being with us. That's all the time we have for this edition of The Newsmakers. Thanks our viewers, to our viewers as well. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter, of course, and do be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Andrea. Thank you. We'll see you next